Hello everybody and welcome back to the xSmithyx YouTube channel, here today for the season finale of our F1 2020 Jgrl esports season, here today for the French Grand Prix. Not actually the final round of the season. I would like to point out there is one extra round at Brazil, but I was unfortunately unable to make that, so this is going to be the season finale episode to see can we maintain our P2 in the Drivers' Championship, can we secure it today, and can we try and claim P2 in the Constructors. Obviously been in a very tight battle this season with X O'Connor and with Mercedes, so it's going to be very interesting to see if we can manage to secure that in this episode. As always, if you did miss the last episode or any of the episodes so far this season, do go and check it out as we track our first season in league racing competition here on F1 2020. It's been a very up and down journey, but here we are then for the season finale, hoping to round out our season with a good result here around the circuit Paul Ricard in France. But enough rambling from me, let's jump straight into Q1 for the French Grand Prix qualifying and see where we can line up on the grid for the race. Hopefully we can get another pole position to add to our tally. So here we are then, winding up to start our first lap in Q1 around this French Grand Prix circuit here at Paul Ricard. Not a track I particularly enjoy, to be honest. It's quite a difficult and quite an awkward track to drive. Obviously produced some quite boring racing over the last couple of years in real life Formula 1, but hopefully it can be a bit more exciting today as we head down towards turn 1, slightly missing the apex there. Bit of oversteer mid-corner, so we run a bit wide there, definitely not the ideal line. This is, however, though, just a banker lap, just to get us through Q1, which we should be able to do in this one. You can see, definitely not the best line through here, running a bit wide, just not really following that racing line, which hopefully we will be turning off at some point over the next couple of seasons as I get more used to this game. Now, a very important exit onto this very long back straight, so uses a surprisingly large amount of ERS this straight, to be honest. It's a definite battery killer, this circuit, so it's important to try and manage it, but on this hot lap, don't have to worry about that as we come spot the braking point. Turned in slightly too late there, you can get away with hopping over that curb, just compromises our line through that entire section really. Getting a nice exit though, down towards the split for the second sector. You see we have gone purple there if you look at the minimap, so it's looking good so far. Through this flat out corner, not really a corner in these cars these days, but we head towards the most difficult corner on this track. Really difficult to know when to downshift to get the car properly rotated, properly turned in there. Get a nice exit though. Coming in here, we just lose a bit of concentration there, run a little bit too wide. Does help us a little bit on the exit with that late apex, so we do get a good exit out of there into this very awkward, very difficult penultimate corner. Never really know when to get on the power there, but we do manage to navigate it around that final corner. Good exit, DRS open at the line, and as we run towards the line, we can see Jack just in front of us does go quickest with a 132.3. We smash that though down to a 130.7, and that should be enough to get us through Q1 for this Grand Prix. And there you are, there is the confirmation in P3. Lathrane doing an incredible job. The improvement that he has shown over the races this season has been nothing short of incredible. If you remember back to the first round when he was hitting us twice behind the safety car and he was seconds off the pace, it's really good to see here at the end of the first season that he's definitely up here now fighting at the top in this one. You can see 4 tenths clear of the next best car. He's nearly 8 tenths of a second clear from me, so very good to see that. See, not a lot of people actually setting a lap in Q1 because you can get through it. Obviously, at this point, there wasn't quite enough people in the league to actually need to qualify through Q1. Into Q2, however, definitely need to be qualifying in this session, and as you can see, once again, doing our old trick from Silverstone, starting on the medium tyre and trying to get as little tyre wear as possible to set us up for the race. You can see there, completely forgetting to turn my ERS and to turn the engine up, so that's not the best way to start a lap. Definitely wouldn't recommend. We get a little corner cutting warning there, just turned in way too early. It's very difficult, these high speed changes of direction on a controller. I am aiming to get a wheel at some point just to try and unlock that bit of speed and to really get into the game a bit more, but unfortunately not able to do that at the minute as we get a bit of a poor exit there onto that curb. A lot of oversteer which does compromise us through here. We come on to this back straight once again, like I said, just easy, keep your foot pinned. Make sure you spot your braking point towards the end that we are coming up to now, because this is a very important corner on this track. Will be a great overtaking point in the race, and in qualifying you can lose so much time if you don't get the line right. Once again, not quite doing it there. The change of direction, again, very poor. Obviously, we are on the medium compound tyre. Definitely not giving us the most amount of grip, but we're going to do what we can as we come through the middle sector split. We're not quickest in this sector, but as long as we do make it into the top 10, that is all we are aiming for, as once again through this very difficult corner, down a couple of gears, get to the midpoint, down a couple more, as we see Haymaker there going fastest with a 131.6. Obviously we should be able to beat that. We've seen this season we have been right up at the sharp end of the grid, so hopefully we can beat that time on these medium tyres and secure our place into Q3, as we come through once again this very difficult corner. It's just such an awkward one. You can't really get on the throttle there because it compromises the exit out of this corner, which is so important on this lap. It's such a long straight that if you ruin the exit here, it can easily cost you 3 or 4 tenths. We cross the line. It is a 131.6, I believe there, so not quite the pace we were expecting, but still, once again, good enough for P4, and we are into the final part of qualifying, the all-important top 10 shootout. This is going to be very important for us. We do want to try and round out this season with a pole position. As we scroll down here, you're going to see Chris actually managed to get disqualified somehow from that session, so that definitely helped us out. Obviously, Chris has already sewn up the title, so he's not really too bothered at this point. But here we go then for our final lap in Q3. You can see we've left it right till the end of the session to set our second flying lap. We are already on pole position, but there are other people out on circuit improving, so we've gone out again. We're going to go max revs, max attack this time. See a much better line through there. Once again, just losing the back end though mid-corner, and that puts us way wide through the second part of the corner. You see massively track extending. Did actually cost us some time though, so no benefit to doing that, because I know some people in the league will be watching my qualifying laps with interest after the last race. Interestingly though, we haven't improved to the first sector, even though we are using max revs this time as opposed to using rich. We go very wide through there again. Another warning for exceeding track limits, which I know I'll be getting slated for in the league group chat as soon as this video goes up. But down the straight, once again, hit the apex perfectly. Turned in too early there, but you can get away with that. I think everyone does that on reduced corner cutting rules. So a nice exit from there. You see we're up by about 3 tenths of a second now on the time that he's already on pole position. That's a purple middle sector there, up by 3-4 tenths of a second. Flat out through this corner, and once again into this very difficult corner. You have to get this corner right because you can gain so much time. We lose a load of time there by running too wide. See, it's cost us about 2 tenths of a second, so that is less than ideal. Now into this tricky off-camber left-hander, get a nice exit through there, get the power down. You can see we're still losing a little bit of time though, only up by 3 tenths when we were up as much as about 6 at one point. So it's not been the best final sector of this lap, but we're going to try and get the exit. You see Lathrain's actually stolen pole position away from us there, but running to the line, this improvement should hopefully see us take that pole position back, and as we cross the line, it does with a 1:28.9. Pole position for the French Grand Prix, back where we belong, just ahead of Lathrain and Evan there in P3. So that sets us up then for the race. Obviously starting on the medium tyre does give us flexibility with the strategy. There's not much between the 1 and the 2 stop here, but we are going to go with the 1 stop and make sure we have track position, because that seems to be the most important thing. And we have seen time and time again this season how good we are in defending. But here we go then, 2 5 red lights for the final time this season. Lights out and away we go, and once again another horrific start there. You can see Evans already on the back of us. We're going to cover off the inside line there, not going to let him get through there. Hit the brakes into turn 1. We do have the lead. There's a little bit of contact that does drag us slightly wide owing to the game's stupid collision physics. So we come through here. Somehow Jack, out of absolutely nowhere, has absolutely straight lined the first corner. He is now taking the provisional lead. Evans sends a huge dive bomb up the inside there. We have no choice but to try and avoid and go over the curb. We are going to keep that position though, because Evan did send it quite late. You'll notice in the top left it currently says with P3 there was a bit of a glitch where somehow, even though Vando wasn't racing, the game has put him a lap ahead, so just ignore that. We are currently in P2. Jack is leading the race after the absolute king of corner cuts at turn 1, so we're going to try and get back past him, back where we belong, because we need to try and get a move on in this race. Mr. Dodo and Lathrain are both on the soft compound tyre, so they are going to be very racy at the start of this, so we need to try and break away because we are on the slower medium tyre. It will come towards us as the stint goes on, but right now we've got to try and do what we can to build a little bit of a gap and use that pace we've got. So as we come into the middle sector, you can see in the dirty air of Jack here getting a huge amount of understeer. I'm not sure if that's due to dirty air, if that's down to just the amount of fuel we've got on board at this stage of the race, but we're really struggling to try and get close to him here. The car's just not turning there. You can see how much we were turning for before the front end bit into the circuit. So that's not what we want. We need to try and get this move done if that is the dirty air affecting us. We're trying to line Jack up here to get a nice exit off this final corner. You can see definitely got the car straightened up a lot nicer. We've got a little bit of oversteer there, so not ideal, but we do use Rich. We go up into overtake and we are going to regain the lead just before the line to set the fastest lap, and we have the lead then of the French Grand Prix into turn 1. We're going to turn it in. Jack sends a huge dive bomb though. Absolutely no idea what he's trying to attempt there, because there was no braking zone for that corner, so he's never going to get that move done. We just plant the throttle through that corner because I was a bit annoyed at that move that Jack tried there. We do get a 5-second penalty. What the game hasn't told me, I'm not sure if the game glitched or if this was just, if it's a feature of the game but it's not showing it properly, but I actually got 2 separate 5-second penalties for corner cutting there. rather than the 1 that the game showed me. So at this point I actually have 10 seconds of penalties. I don't actually know that at this point. It's not until later on in the race that I find that out. It's not until later in the race that that's going to become important, so keep that in mind. But right now we are back into the lead. We do have that gap to Jack, and we are just going to try and put our foot down now and try and get clear of him, so we can't send another horrific dive bomb like that down our inside. Yeah, don't really know what he was thinking there. We had the place. There's not really a braking zone for that corner, so that was always going to end in contact. So a bit of a clumsy move, let's say there. But we've got the lead. We're going to try and pull away now. Use Jack as a bit of a rolling roadblock to the people behind us on those soft tyres, and hopefully we can start to build a little bit of a gap as we try and chase down a 3rd win of this season. Obviously after our wins earlier on in Hungary and at the Dutch Grand Prix around Zandvoort. As you can see in the top left, we are growing the gap. I think Jack makes a little bit of a mistake here because he loses a couple of positions, but even though that has happened, we are still about 3 seconds clear up at the front. Definitely the start we wanted to this Grand Prix, just trying to run away, do our own race, and hopefully we can get a nice clean victory. That would be the ideal way to end the season. And as we jump ahead now all the way to lap 10, so 7 laps later, you can see the massive gap we've built up with 10 seconds clear of Evan. Chris has recovered into a net P3, obviously if you remove Vando. He's 17 seconds behind us. Incredibly, that wasn't actually Chris driving, that's Chris's cousin. I'm not entirely sure how old he was. He was in the party chat with us and he sounded about 12. So I'm not going to say what went on in the party chat because it's probably classed as bullying. But yeah, incredible pace. I don't know how this 12-year-old is suddenly Mick Schumacher. But yeah, he was carving through the field. You should have heard some of the stuff he was coming out with. He's calling people trash and yeah, it was rather funny. But Chris, or Chris's cousin, is in P3. I've got a theory that Chris's cousin's been driving for him all season personally, but that's a matter for another day. You see Mr. Dodo there is in P4, still on those soft compound tyres. You can see he has dropped to about 30 seconds back now, as those soft tyres really do start to go off after a couple of laps around this circuit. However, lap 11, this is our pit window opening, so we will be coming into the pits at the end of this lap to put on a set of medium tyres. Obviously we are going to have to serve that 5-second penalty we got earlier on, and as we come through towards the end of this lap, I actually find out, didn't realise this at any point during the first stint, but I've actually had a broken front wing from, I'm not sure if it's a collision with Evan at turn 2, turn 3, whichever one it was, when he slid across us, but we do actually have front wing damage on the front right, which does explain a lot of the struggles we were having in behind Jack with that understeer before. You see, we're going to come into the pits now, into the pit box, cycling through the menus, you'll see it here, just a second, there we are, we've got a yellow front wing on the right hand side, so we're going to quickly cycle through the menus again, trying to remember which one it was. We do get the front wing fixed, and hopefully that should give us enough pace in the second half of the race to recover. So obviously changing the front wing and having this penalty is going to cost us a huge amount of time. And I slightly misjudged how much time, to be honest with you. As you can see, Evan entered the pit lane behind us. He's also having his pit stop, and remember we had about a 10-second gap, but he has actually managed to jump us with that very, very slow pit stop we've had there. So that is less than ideal. It's put us right back into the fight when really we were coasting out front. So maybe in hindsight I shouldn't have changed the front wing. I should have just left it as it was, because we did have a good amount of pace out front, but now we do have to fight Evan. And more worrying as well, there is Lathrane in that Williams. He has jumped us as well in the pit stop cycle. Obviously I was too busy looking at their fight, completely cut turn 1 like an idiot, and we've now got a 3-second penalty. Now add that to the other 5-second penalty that I didn't realise I had. That's now 8 seconds worth of penalties in this race. That's definitely going to come into effect later on. As we come through here, you can see Lathrane absolutely murders Evan through there, and we then end up following him wide because we're too busy not paying attention, to be honest. So that's definitely not the ideal line through there, but coming onto this straight, we're going to try and get our foot down. You see Lathrane slightly lagging about here, so we are going to move to the inside. We're going to give him a very, very wide berth, don't want any lag contacts or anything like that, and that should be us back into a net lead of the race. You see Mr. Dodo just ahead. I'm not actually sure if he's pit or if he put on another set of soft tyres. I can't confirm that, I can't remember, to be honest, it's quite a while ago this race. But we are back into a net race lead now, very, very good news for us. But as we come through this corner, a little bit of a scary moment. You see one of the polystyrene boards there had been destroyed and we ran over a little bit of it, and for some reason it just launched our car. Very lucky that the physics didn't glitch out there and send us into a massive accident. But we got away with that. We got away with making a bit of a mix-up with a pit stop, and we are back into the net race lead. Chris is now in the pit, so it's going to be interesting to see where we come out in relation to him and what the gap is. Mr. Dodo once again decides to go on for yet another lap on those soft tyres. However, the job is not yet done for us. As you can see, Lathrane is still just within that 1-second window, the key 1-second window for DRS. It's so powerful around this track. easily gains you about 4, 5, maybe even 6/10 of a second around this circuit, and it's keeping him glued to the back of us so far. So we need to try and break this window so we can build up that gap like we did in the first stint. We just ran away after we overtook Jack. That's what we need to be trying to do here to mitigate the penalties we've got, because at the minute we will lose this race. We'll lose P2, we'll lose P3 even, because Evan's only 3 seconds down the road after that little, let's say, death experience a lap ago. So as we come onto this straight, we're going to use a lot of ERS here. You can see Latharain's just 6/10 of a second behind, so I am slightly worried about him being able to get a run on us here. Such is the power of the DRS down this straight. Thankfully though, it doesn't look like he is going to be close enough, so we do still have the lead, but we do need to try and break this as soon as possible. Use the pace we've got, get away from him, and then that gap should start to grow at a much quicker pace. You can see we get a little bit of oversteer there, and the Williams is right on us now, just 2/10 of a second behind, so it's going to be very important that we do not let him through. As we come through this high-speed corner, he looks to the inside, so we're going to cover that off, park the car in the middle of the circuit. Very important we get the line right through here, which we do. We're going to try and get a nice exit and just build the gap. This final sector, really not a place you want to be trying to overtake, to be honest. Very difficult to get a move done. Coming through this off-camber left-hander though, if you look in the top left, I think Latharain makes a little bit of a mistake. He must have got a bit of oversteer there. The gap right up to 1.4 seconds, and that should now be that battle over, and we can focus on getting the race lead. Focusing just in front though, you saw there the Ferrari unfortunately got a bit of oversteer and hit the wall, and unfortunately for him he's got a broken front wing, but he just passed the pit lane entry, so he now has to do an entire lap around this track with the broken front wing. Certainly not what you want on this circuit, so very unlucky for him, because he was driving a very good race, it has to be said. So it will be interesting to see where he can manage to recover to after making that pit stop, but for us, we do now have that magical 1 second plus gap. So we're just going to get our head down now, try and build up as big as a gap as we possibly can. And we're going to jump all the way up to lap 22 now, and you can see the gap's up to 9 seconds, and it is actually Chris who is now in P2, or rather Chris's cousin. Once again, he did a fantastic job after making his pit stop. We're just carving through the field, but we've been able to hold him just at that 9 second gap, just keeping at arm's length. We're not really pushing too hard at this point. We are just trying to make sure we maintain this lead. Obviously at this point, I think I've only got 3 seconds of penalties, so we are just cruising around, not really pushing. But as you can see, we're going to come through here now. You see the one and only has just retired from the race, so slightly worried about a safety car here, but thankfully no safety cars to ruin our race today. However, the one and only decided to act as my race engineer a little bit here. We went into the director, and this is the point I find out that I actually have 8 seconds worth of penalties. And as you can see, Chris only being 8.8 behind definitely changes the complexion of this race now. We're going to have to get a move on, because all it's going to take is Chris to gain 0.8 of a second, which he's more than capable of doing, and that is going to be our race win, snatched away from us once again. Once again, looking like it's going to be a bottle job for us, but we're going to definitely try and put our foot down now. Like I said, we were holding a lot of pace back in this race, just trying to drive comfortably and not make mistakes, but now that we have this challenge in front of us, we are going to absolutely hammer it. You can see we did a personal best in the first sector. This final sector is one of the fastest ones we've done for quite a while. You can see really attacking this final corner, getting the car turned in nice and tight there. Nice exit out of this corner because we've lined it up perfectly like that. Using a lot of ERS. As you can see, we've got about 80% ERS because we just weren't using it, just saving up everything we had. And as you can see, that is very close to our fastest lap of the race. As we go on to the next lap though, you can see as we cross the line, we've gained about 0.3 on our fastest lap. The gap to Chris is up to 10 seconds now. And as we come on to the lap after that one, the gap to Chris up to 11 seconds. You can see just how much we are gaining here. Another fastest lap of the race for us. You might have noticed there though, the gap to Chris has now dropped massively. This is because we decided to have a little bit of fun with Chris's cousin at this point and told him that the only reason I was winning is because I'd been cutting every single corner, because I have a bit of a reputation within the league. Not entirely sure why. See any of my previous videos. But yeah, so at this point, Chris's cousin decided to just not do the final sector, pretty much, and try and catch up like that. So he's gained 5 seconds there. The thing is, I don't actually know what penalties he's got. I know I have 8 seconds. I have no idea how many seconds worth of penalties Chris's cousin's got. So we're just going to have to press on here and hope that we can build a gap. And hopefully, in the end, we will end up winning this race, because we have definitely deserved it with the drive we've got today. You can see absolutely pushing the car to the maximum, using a lot of the ERS that we've saved up here, as we have just set our fastest middle sector of the Grand Prix so far on the penultimate lap on tyres that we've been on for easily 15 laps now, showing just how much we are pushing, just how much we are going to make sure that we win this race, because we definitely deserve it, and I want to round out this incredible first season of league racing action with a win for you guys, and for me as well. You see a polystyrene board getting absolutely obliterated there. Just look at the minimap though, you can see the yellow triangle, that is me. Chris is the orange dot that is behind us, or Chris's cousin that is rather. Absolutely completely cuts out that corner we've just come through. You're going to see a proximity arrow up here. He's alongside us, and then he slows down, and at this point I was a bit confused. But as we come across the line, you're going to see what's happened any second now. There it is, Chris got disqualified from the session. Yeah, it was pretty funny to be fair. We heard Chris in the background as that happened just scream no. Absolutely hilarious moment. One of the funniest things that we've happened in league racing. Absolutely gutted that I haven't got the footage of the voice chat that we were in, because we were all pretty much crying at this point. But Chris has been disqualified, which means it's going to be a pretty simple run to the line for us now. All we had to do is not bottle it, and here we are at the final corner for a change, not having thrown the race away. We're going to come across the line to finish this incredible season of league racing action with our third race win of the season here for the French Grand Prix. Get in there. Definitely a Grand Prix we deserve to win. You can see the gap behind. 20-second race win. Thoroughly enjoyed that race. Obviously it was a bit boring. A lot of it did have to get cut out because it was just me driving around. Thankfully the pit stop blunder didn't hinder us there. We did get the race win. See, Lathrane did finish in P2. Like I've said, incredible race from him. Great to see the improvement. But that is the final race of the season in the bag, and our third race win of the season. See, a lot of penalties dished out in this race. See, Vando there in P5 doesn't actually get it because he didn't drive. That wasn't AI, so he will be excluded from the results. But you can see we win from Lathrane with Evan in P3. Mr. Dodo there, incredible result for him. He managed to recover. You can see we're just going to look into the menu here. There are the 2 5-second penalties I got for the same incident. Like I said, I don't understand why the game only showed one of them or just didn't give me a 10-second penalty, to be honest. But that's the way things go. We're just scrolling through here. You see there's quite a lot of incidents around this track, resulting in, at the end there, you can see Chris Beats disqualified for 2 10-second corner cutting penalties. I really wish I had the recording of that because it was so funny just hearing Chris in the background scream. But anyway, we move. This has been the final race of the season. As we go to the driver standings, Chris then is your champion of this season. Thoroughly deserved. He had something like 6 race wins on the bounce at one point. Incredible driver. Definitely someone we're going to want to beat next season, but definitely going to be a difficult challenge. We did manage to secure P2 with that win, even though we didn't finish the final round in Brazil. We have secured P2 in the championship. Evan managed to jump X O'Connor, who had a very, very poor last couple of races to the season, just getting taken out. Obviously, we saw some crashes. We saw just races that he didn't really have the pace, so unfortunate for him. He finishes in P4 just ahead of Kai, who finishes P5, heading up the first of the Racing Point cars with Haymaker in P6. You can see just winning that very, very tight midfield battle, just 1 point separating him and Jack in P7, and the one and only just a few points further back in P8. B Dodo, like I've said, he's definitely one to watch. He managed to finish P9 despite only joining the season at the Italian Grand Prix, which is I think round 9 or round 10. So that is incredible to see. He's going to be someone to watch. And Vando rounds out the top 10. As we look at the Constructors' Championship, obviously McLaren runaway winners, helped massively by the fact that Chris absolutely dominated this season. We were very, very lucky and managed to nick that P2 off Mercedes by the slightest of margins after the final race, just 4 points in it. So incredibly happy for the team that we did manage to get that P2. Ferrari, with Mr. Dodo coming in halfway through the season there to driving that Ferrari team alongside Evan, he massively helped that title challenge and got Ferrari into P4. Racing Point, unfortunately for them, finished P5, just ahead of Alpha Tauri, got 104 points. Like I said, B Dodo, an incredibly quick driver, and definitely someone we're going to have to keep an eye on in the next season of the league. But not to take anything away from his teammate Logan Josh, he did end up getting a podium in Russia, so fair play to him. Alpha Tauri P6, just ahead of Williams, who finished with 64 points, and Red Bull did round out the Constructors' Championship. So there we have it. That has been the first season of the Jgrl Esports season. What a fantastic way to round it off. Incredibly happy there to get our third win of the season. It's definitely been one that has been coming. Obviously, we missed a few opportunities this season, but for our first ever season of league racing, incredibly happy to come away with a P2 against some very, very quick drivers. So we're definitely going to try and build on that next season, and hopefully we can be in there for the title challenge. I just want to say though a massive thank you to Jack for organising the league. Done a fantastic job to put a great season together. I do want to thank him for that, and I cannot wait for the next season, which will be starting on the channel sometime next week, so make sure you do tune in for that one. Like I said, if you have enjoyed this video or you have enjoyed any of the videos so far, please go and leave a like on them, show your support. The link as well will be in the description for the league's Instagram page, where all the highlights and all the results will be posted on. So if you are enjoying following this league, do go and give it a like, and do let them know that I have sent you. But yeah, there you have it. If you have enjoyed this season, guys, and you do want to see more, do consider hitting that subscribe button. Help us reach our goal of hitting 100 subs by the end of 2020. That is the goal that I am going for. So if you can help me out with that, I would massively appreciate it. But yeah, that is it, ladies and gentlemen, for this video, for this season. We will be back next week for the start of our second season in the league. We'll be revealing our new team, our new teammate, as we have moved on from Renault. That's all to come. But if you have enjoyed it, like I said, leave a like, leave a comment, make sure you subscribe to keep up to date. And I have been xSmithyx. I hope you have enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.